Hi, friends. Welcome to Enlightened World Network. Dr. Ruth Anderson here for New Month Numerology. Today we are looking at April with Michele Landers. She is EWN's very favorite numerologist. We adore her. Michele, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Ruth. Thank you. I love doing these every month and sharing the information. Let's see how it goes. So, April, my goodness gracious, 4 months into the year, I'm wearing this very psychedelic shirt for a very good reason because it's fireworks and psychedelic energy this month. So, what does that mean? It is, well, first of all, we're in Aries season. And if you're familiar with Aries, Aries is fiery. So it stirs things up. And we've had a lot of stirring up, but by all accounts and information, besides the numerology, astrology, even psychics, 4 is supposed to be a life changing, or maybe not life changing. Let's not go that far. Let's go a very big change in a lot of things this month. It may not be a life changer, it might be a game changer. I think of hellfire and brimstone. It can be very combative, but let's dig into it a little bit more. And perhaps I shouldn't have started with hellfire and brimstone. Let's start off with it's a little wild, okay? So the 4 of April tells us what's 4? It's a no nonsense month. Things can feel like a struggle. It may be hard to get things going or to get answers. And why is that? Besides the 4 of April, let's understand that, guess what? Mercury is in retrograde. Now, we all know, pretty much all of us know about Mercury in retrograde. What does it do? It's not the end of the world, but it tells us just be careful with all your documents, with electronics, communications, things like that. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. And what's 4? Well, 4 is the emperor. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the government issues, excuse me, people in charge, people in authority, it is so loud this month, and anything having to do with control or government or leaders, a lot of discord. There could be changes in corporations, merges, which I believe that is definitely in the works. And if it's not this month, it will be happening for sure. There's these mergers. Weird weather. Watch out for not necessarily here, but the earthquakes here, definitely. Volcanoes, we're going to hear more, and we've been hearing about volcanoes erupting, and we're going to hear more of that. Aries, Mercury, electrical storms. Some structure might, oh, that happened already. Never mind. I was going to say some structure might, and guess what? Yeah, it did, the bridge. So the month encourages us to establish as much as we can, despite all the noise going on around or personal issues, solid foundations, organize our lives, prioritize our responsibilities. It's great. And the 4, what does that do for us? It gives us this energy to make plans. I love this expression, and sometimes people look at me like, what does that mean? Make plans, but don't plan results. That's really pretty good advice all the time. You know what you would like an outcome to be, but don't be married to that outcome, because that's when we get into trouble, with which we've talked about so many times, about attachment to things. So it's a great time to make plans, but just don't plan the results. So when we combine the number 4 of April with the 8 universal energy, we'll get the number 3. Now, I love the number 3. So I was a little, I don't know, discouraged, I guess, when I started looking deeper into anything, because I love 3. 3, the positive energy of 3 is youthful, it's playful, it's busy, it's creative, it's words. And that's what I want to underline. It's words, it's communication. However, when that three is showing that it's not so happy, it could be critical, cranky, moody, deceitful, jealous. So when I give these interpretations of the numbers, I always want to be clear. The higher your spiritual connection is, and that's why I encourage everybody so much to always keep practicing or stay in the flow of their spiritual practice and meditation, because the higher your spiritual energy is, the less affected you're going to be by the challenge of that number or that planet. So that's why it's so important. So with the number 4, again, it tells us that words this month can be misleading. It could be miscommunicated. There could be a lot of criticisms going on. It can be testy. It can be a struggle, for control and forceful. By the same token, though, somehow it brings us new information, that breaking news. And that breaking news can be both positive and negative, but it's certainly going to be verbal and loud this month. Now, the 3 is also the triad. It's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And that is a very good sign, because in some ways it indicates joining forces. So that can be really, really wonderful in certain instances with certain groups. I know that more groups are going to be speaking out, more women, more verbal communication, and more saying, hey, I don't like this. I'm seeing past the veil. I don't like this. And I think that's going to get things rolling. So remember, we also have Mercury in retrograde, unfortunately, all month, along with all of the other interactions of the planets, because the planets have been pretty quiet, for the first 2 months, and even in March, there's some things that have been happening, but now it's, woof, flare-ups, electricity, solar flares, definitely can interfere with our communications, all sorts of electronics. On top of that, because it's stirring things up, a lot of emotions are going to be bubbling up to the surface. Now, this is on the whole, and this is individually. So you might be saying to yourself, wow, I haven't thought about that in years. Or why is that coming up now? But it's all there for us to heal, as we know. That's the purpose of all this. It's not all bad news. So there's so much going on. Actually, I think way too much going on. So what do we want to do? We want to really try and tap into, however you can, your creative side, your joyful side, your playful side this month. In fact, I was just about to do that. And unfortunately, some other things took me off course, and I'm not, but there is that urge to be playful and creative. And I really encourage people to do that, to be flexible, to be adaptable. It's also a time to do things that bolster your self-confidence. Plan some fun events, travel. Although I will say that I'm not crazy about April 8th for traveling, and we'll talk a little bit about April 8th in a minute. And here's something else. Music is especially healing this month. Now, I know that part of it for me is because I know it's a 3, and that's words and communication, but something else is, I don't know, something there is telling me that music is so healing this month. And on that note, pun intended, I want to take us into a bit, just of a little different direction for a moment, and talk about somatics. Now, I hope I'm saying it the right way. Cymatics, yes, cymatics. And this really caught my attention a while back. And then for whatever reason, I was brought back to it when I was doing these predictions. So cymatics is the study of sound and vibration made visible. And typically cymatics, you doing cymatics or showing visible sound, they do it on a plate. And then the plate is vibrating with sound. And then if they put salt or something on it, it forms all of these patterns depending on the hertz. So, but it's also about sound healing. So one of the things that I discovered is that the word cymatic, numerologically, you can't make this up sometimes, you know, you really can't, resonates with the number 3 because it makes so much sense because 3 is words and communication. And words and communication can manifest through sound, of course. And what else I found interesting is this. We've all heard this from the Bible, right? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. And the word sound, numerologically, resonates with the number 1. And what's number 1? It's new beginnings. So where am I going with all of this crazy talk? I just wanted to expand on the number 3 and musical healing. Music is important, musical healing, because another fascinating piece of information is this. Our body and every organ in our body has its own signature sound. Now, when our body is healthy, the sound is harmonious. And when we have a disease, it is disharmonious. So when we can tune into, when we listen to the exact resonance, the sound or hertz of that particular organ, we can help heal that organ. So cells that vibrate at a higher frequency are full of energy and are super healthy. And from what I've read, a healthy human body has a vibrational frequency of a range between 62 to 70 megahertz. Human cells can start to change, mutate, when their frequency drops below 62 megahertz. And that's when illness can set in. So I'm fairly certain that most of the viewers and the listeners are aware of sound healing, which can be incredibly healing. But I don't know if anyone who is familiar with or who knows of the vibrations of each organ and using those specific tones to heal. Okay, so I just want to mention that I did find a information on that and what the cells, each cell resonates to. That's the only one I ever found. So if anybody's interested, they certainly can email me or text me or whatever, and I'll certainly send it to them. So I think it's really so interesting. And I think music and sound healing is just so important this month. That's why I took this little off-road. And I want to really encourage people to use music this month, not just for pleasure and joy, but for its healing. And I just have been told over and over again, I don't know why, to reinforce that. So I'm reinforcing it. So let's get back to some of the predictions for April. We're in eclipse season, and we all know eclipses are indicators of change. And the interesting thing about eclipse is that it's not just that day. You know, some people think, oh, it's that day only. It's not. Things can happen on that day for sure, but it's a little before, a little after. Some eclipses can last 6 to 13 months. So we have a lot of eclipses going on right now. And what's an eclipse? They take place when the sun, the earth, and the moon are all aligned. And some of these eclipses that we're going through are going to last through the end of the year. What does that mean? Well, I think something's going on with the crypto market. I don't know if it's a big breakout, breakthrough, but something's going on for sure. It's going to gain more and more momentum. I do think eventually, again, this is kind of a side note, we're going to go to a digital currency, but it could also be financially a milestone market in April. And let's see how that turns out. Breakthroughs, it could be in food, in agriculture. I think because of all the energy that's going on and firing off and solar, I don't think it's the greatest month for travel, but if you have to travel, it's okay. But if you can choose, maybe go to the end of the month. And I'm not saying about accidents, I'm just saying, issues, maybe lost luggage, or you can't find this, or you can't find that, or it's delayed, whatever. So best if you can to keep travel towards the end of the month. And the first week or so of the month is probably by far the most disruptive kind of, and more issues or problems. So again, on March 2nd, Mercury goes retrograde in Aries. And again, it's going to last till the end of the month. And, retrogrades, though, always point us in the direction of reassessing something in our lives. It brings things up again. That's what retrogrades do, to look at it again. It cautions us to be careful on how we approach things, double check communications, documents, computers, everything that I mentioned before. Electronics can be wonky. And then it's punctuated by between April 3rd and April 5th. There's a lot of passionate energy going on there. The other side of that is watch those rose-colored glasses. You might want to take them off, but it's certainly should be a little brief, period of, just some nice passionate energy. Now, let's just jump right ahead to April 8th. Astrologers are all abuzz about the total new moon solar eclipse in Aries. This is a big deal. It's a big deal. It's going to cross through Mexico to Canada. It can bring about things. And again, this isn't just on April 8th, of course. And I would suggest to people, again, not a great day to travel if you can not travel. Don't that day. But if you have to, just be very cautious and careful. So things coming up that we didn't see before, it can be a little bit of a frustrating transit. And that eclipse could initiate some awe-inspiring development, either on a personal level or global, medical, or scientific breakthrough. But again, maybe not exactly that day, but that's the energy for sure. So here's an interesting note about how long this transit can, or this particular eclipse, how long it could be in effect for. And people are going to say, why? Are you kidding? On August 21st in 2017, we had a solar eclipse. And almost 3 years later, and that's how long these eclipses can sometimes last, COVID hit. And we were also experiencing at that time the effects of a split America, because it kind of splits things sometimes. That solar eclipse passed through the middle of North America from the other side that this one is coming from. This one on April 8th will cross over North America in the opposite direction. So it kind of forms this cross from the last one, which is also significant. So surprises are in store. The energy is fiery. It's fierce. It's kind of power struggles. That's no surprise. What I'm hoping is maybe, though, there could be a turning point in Palestine and Ukraine. bringing it to, bringing it to some type of healing, maybe, or not. It is a hot-headed, righteous energy, but maybe it could bring it to a climax and things change. I'm really hoping, because the sun here is all about rulers. There's also talk among a lot of psychics and astrologers that there's just this powerful force going on, and that with some rulers there might be this catastrophic event. On another very interesting note, like what I was talking about, the split in America that we've been experiencing through, since around 2017. So I'm just throwing this out there. You never know what's going to happen in this United States. And talking about splits, even though I don't think this is going to come about, and I hope it's not going to come about, but what's really interesting is this eclipse is passing over Texas. And back in June of 2022, the Republican Party of Texas, at the behest of Governor Greg Abbott, he urged the legislature to introduce a referendum in 2023 to secede from the United States. Okay. So I don't know why I brought that up. And by the way, the Dems would love that, because that's 40 electoral votes. I'm not trying to be political. I'm just throwing that out there. I think it's unlikely, but I think that's so interesting that talking about splits and Texas, so we'll see. I know he's still trying to push that through. So Saturn is conjuncting Mars around the eclipse. Again, weird energy, important for us to find balance. Again, make plans on what you want to do in May, in your future, your goals. Something is very likely to come into our awareness that wasn't there before. On a very positive note, these changes and upheavals can also bring about new opportunities, new starts, new beginnings. Positive, significant changes could crop up unexpectedly. Maybe some type of innovation goes viral. It can mean getting unstuck. I know that all of this energy that we've been experiencing and we continue to experience is just bringing things to the surface, to number one, to be healed. And because we are going through, and I know I've repeated this a million times, a breakdown to a breakthrough. And it's like giving birth, and birth is usually a little uncomfortable. So that's what we're going through. So I don't want people to head for the hills. It's all going to be okay. Spiritually speaking, what's hidden in the shadows tends to come up into the light during an eclipse. And it also encourages people to step up, collectively healing. And more people are coming together to do that. I so want to encourage people to get involved with or start healing prayer groups. Healing groups. I know it's when two or more are gathered, but you can't even imagine the positive energy and healing that goes with even larger groups. It's just beautiful. So the eclipse is going to affect everyone, but I will say that I think that the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, they may experience it a little more, may feel it more, personally, more intensely. So on the 10th, we have Mars in Pisces conjunct Saturn in Pisces. And just caution about being, fearful of things, because fears can come up. There could be some conflict, by the way, having to do with water or on water, limitations with water. Pisces is very watery. Things overflowing, storms, what else? Pisces, mental health, hospitals. things having to do with homeless encampments. Um, yeah, it's just Pisces is again watery, dreamy. Get back into your spiritual practice if you've fallen off. And then on the 11th, which I love the 11th, of course, we have a Mercury cazimi, and a cazimi occurs when a planet forms an exact conjunction with the sun, and that initiates a new cycle. So again, 411, kind of an awakening, news awakening, or in your own life, where do I need to push through something a little more? What's missing? And actually, things that are missing might turn up. It's being much more aware of your intuition as well. I love 411, love it. On the 19th, the sun enters Taurus, Mercury retrograding Aries, conjunct Venus and Aries. That's people changing their minds about things. You know, you might hear of something, oh, this was going to happen. No, we changed our mind. We're not going to do that. We're doing this. It's getting back with someone, it's forming an alliance with someone, or breaking up with someone. It's reviewing, you know, but it is also very courageous energy, warrior energy, which is great as long as it doesn't turn into too much aggression. So be courageous. And now I want to jump to the other big deal, and it's probably one of the biggest events in 2024, and that's 420. Now, some of you may be familiar with 420 as Weed Day. And if you're thinking of just, is it just is Weed Day, that's not the big event. Well, maybe for some of you it is, but on the 20th, Jupiter is going to conjunct Uranus in Taurus. And that's when Taurus season begins. And we know Taurians, they are strong and sturdy, and they're the earth. And this is a massive transit and a time for us collectively to take a quantum leap. This conjunction wants innovation. And the last time we had that was in July 1969, and guess what? That was the moon landing. So we can expect, and again, I always want to emphasize, it may not be exactly that day, it may be around it, but something's going on. So Jupiter expands, Jupiter grows things, it expands our mind. Oh, I know what I wanted to mention also. On 420, yeah, it's kind of a lucky day. So I'm going to tell everybody, play the lottery that day, or just take a chance, because it should be hopefully a very lucky day. Again, Jupiter expands things. It can bring fortune and luck. It's optimistic. It's inspiring. It wants us to do the things that light us up. Uranus, on the other hand, shakes things up. Uranus creates aha moments. It's very innovative. Its co-ruler is Aquarius. It can stir things up in a revolutionary way, good way, and in a revolutionary way, not so good. It brings a lot of electrical energy. It brings a lot of out of the box thinking. It's a very, very, very high vibration. And worldwide, it's bound to bring some shakeups, either, again, on that exact date, a little before, a little after. But, you know, we can look for, during that time, we can look for, you know, new inventions, exciting new inventions or opportunities, some rebelliousness from the masses, but that can be a good thing, because there's a lot of people saying no more, and gathering energy and gathering people together. The desire for freedom is so strong. So any frustrations are going to be coming out. good time to, focus on your finances. So even though Jupiter is very positive, Taurus is home and finances, Uranus is a little unpredictable. So we might get some, volatility in the stock market, but I kind of think it's all going to be okay. Taurus is tenacious, but it doesn't like change. So again, what could be sudden is this increase with the crypto market, more, focus on that. However, on an individual basis, it's a great time with Jupiter at your back and Uranus with surprises to, it is really a good time. You could take a little risk, but make sure it's calculated. Maybe something you really wanted to do. Do your due diligence, but now is the time to, invite in the unusual. That's all I could say. 23rd to April, possibility of some earthquakes, things bubbling up. It can affect masses of people, or metaphorically, it can be emotional earthquakes, things coming up for you that you want to deal with. And I think that just about, yeah, I didn't realize I was coming to the end of this, but I am. Those are my notes. So, yeah, it's a topsy-turvy kind of month, but it can be healing a wound, healing an issue. So I want people to focus on that. And the big thing I would really love people to focus on is the healing with music, especially, and forming groups to heal. We need a lot of healing this month. So that is it. Thank you so much for everyone for listening. Any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Michele, so much. So you had said at one point, if you are not strong in your spiritual practice, this is a really good month to get back into your spiritual practice.
Yes, 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 it is. Absolutely. The energy is there for that. And because the energy can be at times a little bit trying this month, we're all, and I know that personally, I know it's so important for us to be in our center, in our core, and our spiritual practice it's always important, right? Always. But it's like your bank account, right? So the more you put into your spiritual bank account, the more you'll have to draw on when things get challenging or tough. You can withdraw on it. If you don't have a spiritual practice, you're kind of just flopping in the breeze, So that's, so that is the big message this month. Healing, spiritual practice, healing with music, and find things that give you joy and go do them.
Beautiful. Now, Michele, they just gave me a vision of if you've been to the ocean and you're trying to climb out onto some rocks, the water right where the rocks are is the most tumultuous, and you try to stay afloat while you're pulling yourself up onto the rocks. And they're showing me that our spiritual practice is like being on the rock. And so when you're on the rock, you can look down at the tumultuous water, but you are not impacted by it.
I love that, Ruth. What a great analogy. That's beautiful. Yes. So true.
So climb to higher ground, friends. You don't
Climb
need
to
to be,
higher ground. Be like a goat.
you don't need to be in the drama and the trauma.
Right. Right. You don't.
Yes. So, Michele, if folks want to know about you as a numerologist or as a counselor, how do they find out about you and how do they contact you?
Thank you, Ruth. Very easy. Michele, Michele. That's with one L. Landers, Landers, .com. Or you can text me at 954-444-6955.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Michele. And we look
Thank you.
forward to May 1.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, you bet. So friends, take good care. God bless, and we'll see you soon. Bye now.